Good morning, wrestling fans. Welcome to the Pain Clinic for June 20th. Gosh darn, we're almost through June. Isn't that crazy? Next weekend, got two great microphones being a little flaky there. Next weekend, this will be the pre-show to WWE's Night of Champions, as well as the Forbidden Doors next weekend. We got two pay-per-views next weekend. Nothing going on this weekend, but I want to tell you there's some holidays. Today is Hollerin' Contest Day. Sweet. There we go. Ice Cream Soda Day, National Bald Eagle Day, and World Juggler Day. Some great holidays. Birthdays today. We have the infamous Coco Beware is 69 today. Happy birthday, Coco Beware. I was just reminiscing about the Coco Beware rule that we asked him about. And he talked about a bit when we had him in the studio a few years ago. Hey, interested in roller derby? You want to be a skater, officiate Rock City Roller Derby needs you. Contact recruitment at rockderbyrecruitment@gmail.com and join Rock City Roller Derby. If you're into the men's team, it's Flower City Fear, FLOUR, flowercityfear.com. Two pieces of my heart in which I always express every man, this cable is messed up. Every show we do, I did mention both those because both of them are important to me. And come on, check them out. We had a great game last weekend at the Dome with the Rock City Roller Derby Rock Stars and B-Sides versus Steel City coming from Pittsburgh. There's an incredible team. It was a great couple of games and a lot of fun. If you missed it, we got another one, our Pride Bout coming up in July. Today, before I introduce the host, I want to talk about a little bit more about Forbidden Door. TNA had some interesting moves this week, which I think we may just start off the week with talking about. And WWE is going to be in London this week coming up, so we got a lot of fun stuff going on. And I see Super Beast is in the chat room. They're promoting his Beast Buys tees at prowrestlingtees.com/Beast Buys. You can get a shirt or two while they're available. Definitely want to check them out. And they're a little free plug for a friend of the show. But I am the humble host, the Cash Man. I'm joined by DC Dan Cole from NC. DCNC, ACDC, something like that. DC, how's it going?
Good morning, Cash.
It's National Hollerin' Day. I just wanted to mention that.
Well, there'll be lots of that going on in downtown Raleigh today.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Is there a parade going on? If you
Yes,
guys,
indeed.
congratulations, Carolina hockey team NHL won championship. And we're also joined by Rob Sanderson from Parts Unknown Rochester. Rob, how are you doing today?
I believe I'm here. Good morning. Yes, prowrestlingtees.com/beastbuy. Heard there might even be some new designs coming there soon, but great place to pick up a t-shirt for this summer weather.
Apparently, if you're near Wesleyville, PA, you can stop by the community days for Erie's All-Star Wrestling. They have 3 shows today, 1, 3, and I can't read the rest. 1, 3, and something else. Hold on, and 6. So you can catch
1, 3, and 6 or 7.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. See, you can put your messages up in the chat room while we're doing the show, and we'll even mention them. So we got some stuff.
Somebody buy some merch from Beast, because I'm sick of seeing him, getting cooked in chats and everything.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Come on, just give him some money. That's all you got to do.
He's getting cooked a lot lately.
Yeah. So
maybe Sarah McLachlan will sing for him. Sell some shirts.
Yeah. Hey, Beast, since you're in the chat room right now, I don't know if you're listening or not, but how many times you got to hear the Bellas theme before you get to Erie, PA? Just wondering. Probably at least as many as it took you to get to what Watertown was it?
Gloversville.
There you go.
And that was 51 times. I don't think it would be that many to get to the Erie area.
Yeah, that's torturous. That's absolutely torturous. But hey, so like if you're in the chat room, I am reading them, and we will go through them as well. But we're going to talk about
probably just listening to Farouk number 4 the whole way down, knowing him. Feel free to confirm that if that's the case, Beast.
Yeah, you can definitely, if you're listening at all, he might be in the road on the car on the way. Who knows? I mean, but he's got to be there by 1. So yeah, I mean, that would make sense. He'd be listening while driving. So, hey, we're here to talk about the world of wrestling. But before we get too far, I do want to, we mentioned Carolina winning the Stanley Cup. Watertown. Wow, there's an echo of me. I heard we heard Carolina winning the Stanley Cup last weekend. Congrats to them, and a big parade going on in Raleigh today, as well as the Knicks winning. We had back-to-back championships won last weekend, with the Knicks winning on Saturday, Carolina winning on Sunday. So Major League Sports are down just hello.
Oh. Try that again.
Major League Sports are down to Major League Baseball right now, and Canadian football. So, but before we get too far, Rob, what'd you think of
the AHL wrapped up last night, so hockey is done until the draft in a week or less.
Good to see Canada pick up some hockey hardware.
Yeah, I shout out to Mark Johnstone, who won the Calder Cup last night with the Toronto Marlies. I did not think that they were a good enough team to make it this far and to win all of it after they kind of barely squeaked past the Amherst in the first round, what felt like 6 months ago. That was a shocker to see them go on the run they did. But yes, the Toronto hockey team won the cup in hockey last night. So in their white and blue. So they're very excited there in Toronto.
Of course, but
and then they get the first overall pick on Friday. So
not the cup they wanted, not the cup that Toronto wanted to win, but they'll take it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And like Carolina winning as well. That's very exciting. It's interesting is that the Knicks had this big parade last week for winning the NBA championship, and no Danhausen. So no Danhausen appearing, even though he was given a lot of credit by a lot of people for taking the curse off the Knicks. So I don't, he's too busy with the Miz and what's the other guy's name?
Don Morrison. I don't know.
No. The toxic masculinity dude.
Yeah.
And
Kit Wilson. Somebody. Yeah.
Last night on SmackDown, he had them both strapped into chairs, and all they could do was yell their catchphrases. It was
I saw that clip on Instagram. If that's the one that ended with the Zack Ryder again, which I appreciated.
Yeah, Zack Ryder doing his own old Zack Ryder line at the end of the bit. Yeah, even though he that's not his name according to him. So Matt Cardona, he goes, it's Matt, not Zach. Or he goes, Matt. It's interesting.
Of course, everybody would love to see one little Zack Ryder reappearance from the dead. So
one more woo. But nevertheless, that's so unfortunately, Danhausen's busy with SmackDown trying to help the minuscule ratings that they were getting. But some wild things happened in the world of wrestling this past week. And I might as well start with just dissecting what we saw happen with the company known as Total Nonstop Action, TNA Wrestling. This past week, we had a couple interesting transactions, I will say, happen. One, Tommy Dreamer was relieved of creative control of the company. He admitted it on the Busted Open show on Sirius, if you ever listened to that, on this past week. And that's how everyone found out. It wasn't like it wasn't a press release till after that. And we'll start with that. Tommy Dreamer is the creative control, or one of the the creative heads of TNA. Now, I'm only theorizing this, but TNA is now on an even platform with any other wrestling that's on cable TV at the time, still drawing maybe a little over 200,000 a week. Is Tommy Dreamer getting the blame for that? I mean, it's more than just creative, I believe. But hey, guys, have any thoughts on Tommy Dreamer being relieved as head of creative for TNA?
Well, I don't know. He was there for a very long time. Um, I think that sometimes change is necessary. I don't like what TNA did this week with their transactions and how they handled things with people. People who've been there for so long and contributed so much. That's not specific to just Dreamer, but um, yeah, I don't know. It seemed to me like from a creative standpoint, I don't know if they have a better option. Um, Maybe they could have done more in terms of incorporating more people into that. Because a lot of people were unhappy with the creative, to be honest, but a lot of people also respect Dreamer and his ideas and stuff, and so I think there could have been a different way to go about that, or to still have him as part of their company in different aspects. A lot of people there, everybody there that's making a salary is wearing multiple hats and stuff. So I don't know. It's We'll see where they go from here. I'm curious to see who actually does take over as head of creative. Obviously, there's a lot of rumors out there and stuff,
Yeah.
and I don't know if those are better options or not.
Yeah. The biggest rumor, obviously, being Road Dog, uh, Brian James, and I mean, Brian James obviously has a relationship with with TNA in the past, being there as a wrestler and as well as other aspects. But it's interesting that Tommy's a good guy. Listen, I've met him many times. I think we all have. He's a decent fellow. He's a decent dude. Went through some rough times in the business, and and came out the other side. Yes, he realizes he's not the wrestler he was once before. That's why he's in creative now, and he was mentored by obviously Paul Heyman, and Paul Heyman, has been given the quote unquote genius tag multiple times. So I think, it's interesting. Am I wrong to think that because they've been now on 6 months on national TV, that they should be pulling better numbers than the slight higher numbers than they were on Access TV? I can't blame creative on that. I can blame the office and maybe not getting promotions and money into promotions and doing the groundwork to build this up. But I
It's
can't.
tough to know who's actually got their hand in every individual decision. But I mean, I've been critical of what at this point amounts to a little bit of the creative they've had over that time period this year, because it was so bad that I didn't care to tune in on a regular basis, and now I scope out specific matches and things like that they have, but I haven't liked their product. So that could be on Dreamer. It might not be. I don't know if he had the power to, this is what we're doing and that's the final say. I don't know if he had that kind of like Vince McMahon power per se, because I don't know like, is Carlos getting involved in that with his stupid hat? I don't know.
Yeah. Speaking of
Um,
hats, yeah, when you were talking about wearing many hats, all I could think of is Carlos. you know.
and that hat apparently is on TNAmerch.com or whatever it is. I found out. So if you want your own Carlos hat, um, I might have to steal that design and do a really awful hat for her.
DC, you have any thoughts on the lopping off the head of creative of TNA?
Unfortunately not. It's just I do not make time for the product, so I'm not informed enough. But yeah, based on who's out there and available, I don't know that they're going to get someone better. But I don't know. I don't think creative is the creative. From what I've read, is and has been weak. But I don't know if that's on creative or the guy in the hat.
Well, if you just remember one thing, they have like a laundry list of people who have left the company in the past year that are now in WWE and now other places, including Jordan Grace, Henry, Joe Hendry. There's a handful of people that were bright spots on that company that are gone now. And so they kind of have to rebuild with a lot of people.
That partnership is working out great, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been very quiet recently, though I've heard rumors of WWE possibly buying TNA, but now TNA is now striking up a deal with OVW to use them as a feeder for TNA, which is probably not a bad idea, since OVW still is in existence. But yeah, there's been a lot of subtractions from the product that they really were depending on, especially when they came to AMC. So and the weird thing is like Joe Henry's he wasn't even on TV this past week. I know they were doing something with him and Logan Paul got hurt. So I can understand how WWE might be sitting him for a while, but there was a lot of, but there's some other news coming from TNA this week as well, because they're not only that Tommy Dreamer wasn't the only one to be released. Tessa Blanchard is no longer a part of TNA. Tessa only came back recently, like within the last 6 months. Now, I don't have a problem with that, because that's addition by subtraction, I think, because Tessa has so much hanging over her head already, and they tried to insert Tessa into programs. It just wasn't working on TNA. And so now Tessa, basically what is Tessa works for CMLL as well. And they said, and I think they was like, well, we can't have a relationship if you're having a relationship with CML. So you pick one or the other. That's at least what I heard in the rumor mill. And she said, okay, CMLL. So, which is good, because everyone thinks she's a racist in TNA. So you listen to the fans chant every time she's out there, and they have some good authority to say that. We'll say there's some evidence out there. But Tessa was released. Sami Callihan, we haven't seen him on TV in quite a while, but Sammy was working as an agent in TNA for the past year. In fact, Sammy's quote on X was he got a call from TNA and he thought that they were going to offer him the creative position. And when in reality, they were just going to cut him. So that's two people who are gone from the company this past week. Now, there were some additions. Allie is back with them. You might remember Allie, formerly the Bunny in AEW, has re-signed with TNA, which is probably not a bad thing. And Tasha Steeles has re-signed with TNA, as well as Trey Miguel. So there's three people that are one coming back, two are staying. But they said that they kind of put out a press release saying that they were reducing the workforce. And that's kind of what we're seeing in those names. Now, Rob, you know the Bunny, and it's good to see that she's got a gig back. We just saw this past week, and I didn't even mention it, but Butcher and the Blade are no longer with AEW. There was Butcher put out a post, I think was on X, that said that they were no longer with the company. So, and they're working their way. Obviously, independence is where they started, and that's where they're going back to. But Allie now, being related to one of them, is back with TNA. What?
Formerly.
Pardon me, I did not know. Okay, so Allie is back with TNA. So with these other names being released, does someone like Sami Callihan, does that hurt the company? I mean, obviously working as an agent.
Yeah, I mean, so this is I guess part of how this week has been so interesting, because like you're mentioning all of these names and of the people in that company and stuff, like these are the people that I kind of know the best or whatever, or have connections to or have worked with in the past. And so I guess that makes me a little more sour on some of this stuff. Sami Callihan, first of all, he is the guy that wore so many hats, so many nice hats that he designed for TNA, running their merch while also being an agent, while also like contributing to really every part of the company. He was working with live event stuff. He was helping. I thought he was a little bit more involved in terms of like helping with creative, but that doesn't really seem to be the case. But um, I that one probably bothers me the most out of everybody. Um, Tessa has CMLL. She went out, like she did an interview on Mexican TV, fully in Spanish. I mean, she's living down there. Like that's her thing. She's got kind of her niche down there, and it works. I agree that I don't think there's really. She's one of the most talented pro wrestlers of the last 15 years, and um, this sounds harsh, but she dug her own grave. So it is what it is. And she still gets to wrestle and be down there, and she's happy with that. And I don't think, I think overall her being on the TNA product as of late, as you can hear from the fans and stuff, was a negative, regardless of her talent. So that one doesn't really bother me. The Sami Callihan one really bothers me. The Allie thing is the only part that's interesting. I'm happy that she has a job there. She's back there. She can work with Rosemary again. She obviously spent a good amount of time there before her AEW run. And when she left AEW, she pretty much left the wrestling. Wasn't going to wrestle anymore. Got out of the ring, and has recently decided to get back into it. And so it's good to see because she's been doing that for so long. I mean, she probably first popped up on an indie around here in like '06, I would say. I mean, she's been doing this for a long time. So happy for her to get a contract there. I feel like maybe that was something that was signed not this week, but then they needed a little bit of good publicity or something. So they put out that post this week because she's been back there for a little bit. But um, yeah, and I mean, Butcher and Blade, obviously, um, I my frustration in that, obviously Blade was out for a long time with a serious back injury and surgery. Um, Rehabbed the back, worked really hard to get back in the ring. It's been great to see him again quite a bit on shows like ESW. He's been back at, and he's back to his old self. He looks great in the ring. He's always been somebody who just, I mean, looks like a pro wrestler. And I'm disappointed that he worked so hard for, I mean, it's really like 2 years to get back and didn't get a match back in AEW before their contract were up. Meanwhile, Butcher's been kind of sitting on the sidelines as well, where they had used him in singles matches in the past, but he just fell into that hole of like all these people they have under contract that they just forgot about or whatever. And I think he did some really good work. I'm biased, but like I think he did some really good work with some of the single stuff that he did, over the years, whether Blade was hurt at the time or not. But good to see them out on the indies again. Andy has a new band. Butcher has a new band that's starting to do some tours here and there. And I know they're playing Buffalo in a few weeks, July 12th, I want to say, somewhere around then. And Butcher and Blade will be at ESW on July 31st, which I'm really looking forward to that. That'll be their first time tagging at ESW since 2019, since literally the same month that they showed up in AEW. So it's a little trickier to get them on shows around here at this point because with Andy living out in Arizona at this point, but coming back to Buffalo for that show, outdoors at Riverworks next month, so it's a big deal. But obviously, a lot of thoughts on a lot of this stuff. Just circling back, Sami Callihan did so much.
Yeah.
He deserves better than this. I like you take it away. You take away the creative hat from Dreamer. Sammy is one of the absolute first names that comes to mind, if not the first name that comes to mind in terms of somebody who is capable of taking that over. He runs his own very successful indie in Wrestling Revolver. And he's been there for so long. He gave them his retirement match, and all that stuff. And I just seeing a decision like that makes me lose even more of the very little faith I have left in total nonstop action wrestling.
Well, you might remember last week was Macklin and Mila Grace. So both of them, and Macklin, there were some interesting things have been said about, or Macklin has said this, last week about leaving TNA. So
That one line at the beginning of the Wrestling Revolver show a week ago, you have to wonder if the line. I feel like we said it on the show last week. Yeah, I have to wonder, if that got back to Carlos, and that's where
Sammy Callahan,
and that's where Sammy's being punished for that happening on his show. I would hope not, but I mean, I also think that I would assume that Macklin would have at the very least given Sammy some kind of a heads up before doing that.
Yeah, you would think so. Yeah.
But it was also like Steve was walking to the ring, and he said it. He enunciated well and stuff, but it wasn't into a microphone.
It wasn't.
It was into a ringside camera during his entrance. Like, is that enough for a former world champion like Sammy Callahan to get fired over? I don't think so. No. But who knows? With the decisions they're making, maybe that's a yes for TNA.
I think Carlos must read all the websites, because that's the only place it was. It wasn't like he put out a statement with that was saying that as well. Now that may happen, I mean, because, I didn't mention it yet, but we were going to get to it, that last night, AJ Francis decided to start defending all the moves in TNA on social media. And it turned into quite the show online. People I think people were, someone posted with a camera being swiped to the side, like out of someone's hand. And that's what, in response to what AJ Francis was saying, because AJ had made statements about all the people that were gone. And then the people, relatives of the people who he was mentioning, came back and said, I don't think you talked to this guy about why he's not there. Like Macklin, they said, being a champ for, he goes, a champ for over 200 days last year is now gone. And it's like, so there was a lot of S posting, we'll say, going on last night, after, because AJ Francis took it into his own to defend the company, which was a big mistake. And
not the first time he's caused a little controversy online. I'll have to look into all of that.
Yeah, take a look at a little bit of the exchanges last night, but it was. I think it's interesting is that unfortunately that all that means to me is TNA, is subtracting a lot of things in the company that make a solid company. And the interesting thing too is Mike Santana's contract is up in under a month with TNA. He's in the main event of Slammiversary next. Is it next? Yeah, remember it's the early one next Sunday. They're going to do the early pay-per-view so that we can all watch AEW's Forbidden Door at night.
Well, and then I didn't realize until like last night or something too that NXT is doing a show that night also now.
Yeah, they're doing it
back to that
on the CW.
That's what wrestling fans really need is Forbidden Door and Slammiversary and NXT Great American Bash all on the exact same day. What are we doing? Like there is a thing as too much in one day, and that's it right there.
And, well, the interesting thing is the Night of Champions is next Saturday, and if the pregame starts while we're doing this show at 11 o'clock. So, yeah. So, I mean, there's a chance Nick Nemeth is taking on Mike Santana for the belt next weekend on Slammiversary, and Mike Santana may not have signed an extension with the company. So this could be, and WWE has showed a lot of interest in Mike Santana through the grapevine. So this company could be imploding, as of and Slammiversary is not, bound for glory, but it's it's up there as one of their big ones, right? You know, I'm thinking it's
I would say it's their SummerSlam.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So that yeah, it's interesting to see how they're painting themselves into a corner, and yeah, yeah, it's you know
I mean, yeah, I would assume there's a very good chance that Santana's dropping the belt. Um, it's all a mess, and I like it'll be interesting to see how all of this shakes out in the end because also like Revolver has been a very important fed for TNA talent to get more work because again, like most of their roster is not salaried and
yeah, they're
need
per appearance, yeah.
right, they need additional work. They're not going to be able to support themselves just off their TNA money. And that's a place that has had an obvious, easy working relationship with TNA over the years because Sammy's running it. So um, his shows have had tons of TNA talent on it. And if this does, shake out more, if Carlos is bitter or whatever the case is, if Sammy's upset, I mean, who knows? Like that could really change things a lot there as well because there's already a bad enough relationship right now between uh, Carlos and the rest of indie wrestling with what he's done with pulling people and stuff recently. So who knows how this is all gonna work. But I mean, there's just been so many different eras. Like even when you mentioned that like BG James had been in TNA before, like he spent a ton of time there. But like, was that like 18 regimes ago? Like, is anybody even still there that was there then that did work with him? I don't know. TNA just they keep shooting themselves in the foot, and they did that multiple times this week. So I don't know how many lives they have, but it's a lot more than 9 at this point.
I wondered too if it's a financial issue because they would seem to be. I mean, they cut people you don't see on TV pretty much. At least Dreamers on very rarely. Sammy Callahan hasn't wrestled a match since August last year, so they cut
Yeah,
people.
he won't wrestle again. I I inquired about that last night in a way. So yeah, I mean, yeah, he's retired at this point.
I think he's got the fused ankle thing going on. I believe something like that. It was like he had some big problems, and but so these are guys who were behind the scenes that were probably making salaries. I'm guessing, and there may have been a financial cut as well. When I see that many people cut, I begin to believe they're going to sell the company. You know, it's like, and there's been, like I said, there's been rumors, but they also have now, like I said, struck up a deal with OVW to be a feeder system. So more people who won't get paid to be on national TV. But yeah, it's weird how it all kind of happened. You know, it all started with Steve Macklin last week, and it's like there's probably more to come. But it's but they have their major pay per view a week from today, and you know they cut creative. So to me it's like ooh, it's a
Yeah,
mess.
I mean, and credit to Dreamer. I know Dreamer's gone out, on Busted Open and stuff, and said like support TNA, watch Slammiversary. Like, obviously, his fingerprints are all over that pay per view that hasn't happened yet, in the build to it and stuff. But I don't know. It's hard. Like, how many chances is this company going to get? And again, with Sammy specifically, he was designing almost all of their merchandise. And I don't know how much money TNA is making off of merch, but that's an employee right there who is like, you can very clearly have the data in terms of like what he's doing to support his salary and other money coming into the company. Like, so I don't know how you justify some of these decisions, but um, and if they continue to lose talent and stuff as well, if Mike Santana's been like their main storyline in the last year, and then you just are you just gonna lose them too on top of everybody else? I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and that's why I wonder if they can't afford to pay people. That's what I was thinking because there's, I mean, you've got the Hardys still there, Nick Nemeth. You've got there's still some big stars, Moose, being very loyal to them. And when he could have gone, he stayed.
But like the four wrestlers you just mentioned there, I don't know. Outside of those four, I don't know how many other of the wrestlers there are actually on salaries. Like those are the first four that come to mind that are. So, like I said, a lot of people there. I mean, it's a place where it's a good payday when you actually get booked and brought in, but it's not. We're not talking WWE or AEW money or anything like that. And so I don't know. Every person who was there are a lot of rude wrestling fans back in the beginning of the year who were just like, TNA is about to be the number 2 company again, blah blah. Fighting your words right now, because at this point we got to hope for them to still be a company. I want them to do well. I've wanted them to do well for 24 years at this point, but like the decisions they make are just they make you shake your head over and over again.
Well, yeah, they for sure. We remember when they used to do the weekly pay-per-views. Okay, I mean that's how long we've been with them. And it's sad that to me, and like I said, either they're unsatisfied with creative, or they're going through some money issues. And I hope if that's the case, then maybe WWE can come to or somebody, if they're going to sell. But it's a shame because they seem to have a lot of things going for them in the beginning of the year, and then at the very first show started, the very first show on AMC, and it was like, oh, they started off by stubbing their big toe. It's been a rough year for them so far. It's like, and like I said, they're not drawing, even though they're on an even platform with a lot of other wrestling companies, being on a cable network, going from Access TV. You would think that just automatically that I don't even know what TNA and it's high in the highest ratings it's ever got, but it had to be when it went that one time it went head to head with Monday Night Raw. Was on Spike TV. That had to be the highest numbers they ever drew, and that was like 500,000 maybe. So you're not asking for a lot.
I feel like they got close to 1 million back then, but I mean, we're talking, totally different era in terms of what the expectations would have been for ratings back then compared to now. It's I don't know. I know Dreamer also talked about like the locker room and how positive it's been like as of late and stuff, but I mean, it's not 100% positive, I guess is the way to put it. Like it's a situation now where I can't imagine what the locker room is going to be like at their next locker room, their next show or whatever, which maybe that is Slammiversary, or I don't know their schedule this month if they're live before that, but it's just, I mean, if you work for TNA, I don't know how you have much faith in things right now. The way things are going, the way that people get discarded, the creative decisions, the attendance numbers, it's just not. It's a good thing for TNA to exist in wrestling, but it's got to exist better than this.
I think they started on a bad path when they got rid of Scott D'Amore. I mean how broad, because he had gotten Will Ospreay to come in and I basically wrestled for free on TNA TV, and then he got shown the door when Carlos was announced as president. Pretty much, it was quickly after that, at least. So I've always felt that they've been behind the 8 ball since then, and that's almost 2 years ago or a year and a half ago. So.
It's just it's crazy to think, because again, it's very hard for me to just say like this is TNA of all 24 years, this decision, that decision, because again, to me, it feels like a bunch of different companies over the years. There's been so much change there, but at times, like they've had almost every major star in wrestling over the past 24 years, and they haven't been able to get past whatever level they got to. Like that, I think that was like the first show of 2010 when they went like head to head and Hogan and Bischoff showed up and all of that. Like that was the peak for them.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know if they can fully turn it around. I don't know if there's the talent that can get them to that level. If there's too much other competition out there. But it's going to be interesting to see what they do with these decisions. I mean, even on a smaller level, but something that like I pay a lot of attention to is like, AEW is now doing this My AEW where top indie companies are switching over from Triller and IWTV and stuff to basically an AEW platform that's going to be hosting independent wrestling. And if Revolver ends up there, is that something then that, Carlos is like, no, we're not letting anybody work Revolver anymore because now they're going to have a MyEW logo on their poster and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah. So then OVW people will be on TNA programming.
Yeah, and I mean, OVW is a whole other story, but
that's that's Al Snow's company, or he's part owner of it as well. And they've been a feeder system for WWE in the past, and they survived even when WWE pulled up stakes. So, but they still do shows. They still,
they still do shows. That's a great way to put it.
they still do shows.
That's a very nice way of putting it in terms of what I would say. So yeah.
Okay.
No, the same thing with them. Like I don't want wrestling companies to go away, but some of these wrestling companies got to start making better decisions. And every wrestling company that we have mentioned far on the show today could make better decisions.
You are correct. Yes.
Nobody's immune from my my criticism this morning.
There we go.
That certainly includes the Forbidden Door card.
Oh yeah. Well, I was going to get to that next. That would be the next thing I was talking
about. What a segue. Yeah.
There you go. Because Forbidden Door is definitely it's not nearly as forbidden as it has been in the past, I'll say.
I don't even know if there's a door anymore. It's just a walkway.
Can we give it a second title so it could be Forbidden Door, Zack Sabre Jr. knocking?
There you go. There's this card is kind of rounded out this past week. You mentioned the Forbidden Door, and how much of it is forbidden? Not much. But there's a few
3 or 4 matches. There's not in forbidden's a big word in I wouldn't say these are all forbidden. These are matches that could pretty much happen on any Dynamite.
Pretty much. I'm looking at it now. We've got Moxley and Bandito. Never seen that before. Or maybe we have. I don't know.
And again, Bandito's still the ROH champion. Why? If he's never going to defend it, he's always going to go for other titles. And it's not even going to be mentioned in this, like that he is that champion. Like I assume he'll wear that belt to the ring on that show, but
yeah. So we got Tekla and Starlight Kid, which Starlight Kid obviously coming from Stardom, I believe.
Yeah.
And actually cut a promo on AEW Dynamite last week to kind of build a hype and talk about why Tekla was kicked out of the company and stuff like that. Was it Shada Umino versus Pac?
That's a spoiler. Not that that's really much of a spoiler, but
yeah,
I had already heard that one as well. That gets announced on Collision tonight. When I heard that, I was like, okay, at least like that counts. Like you've got the IWGP Global Heavyweight Champion or World Heavy, whatever it is,
Global Heavyweight Champion, yeah,
defending against Pac. So like that counts. That's an improvement. That just boosted the Forbidden Doorness of Forbidden Door by about 25 to 30%.
Yeah, it definitely. Well, the next one doesn't because it's the actual 2 Owen Hart Cup finals are all homegrown. I guess United States AEW wrestlers: Mercedes Moné, Maya World. We got Osprey and Swerve, which actually sounds like a great match. Cannot wait for that.
The only reason I'm even debating getting that event.
Oh wow, was that a spoiler in there too?
What's that? The Swerve or?
No, the
Maya?
maybe don't answer that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't mean to be doing spoilers. I should hold off until next week. I will say that the dogs are taking on Cope and Cage. We know that, and the dogs would have been New Japan a year ago before they came here.
Yeah.
But they
And
unfortunately
then they would have been the War Dogs.
yeah, and then we've got Zack Sabre and Kenny Omega, which is and then there's a multi-person match. So there's a lot.
How are there no people from outside AEW involved in that match?
Yeah,
It's 12 people.
yeah.
I mean, in fairness, Zack Sabre Jr. against Kenny Omega is a huge deal to so many of us that regularly, watch that product and stuff. So that, like, I'm not going to complain about that. I will give them credit for that. That is a match that alone makes me want to watch the pay-per-view. So I'm glad that's happening. I know Zack Sabre Jr.'s got a match tonight on Collision, but the segment, if you want to call it that he and TMDK were in on Dynamite beginning there the other night, like, did absolutely nothing in my mind to promote that match, with them never actually talking. And I don't know. I mean, I would say a lot of people had very positive things to say about Dynamite online this week. I didn't like it. I don't. I did not need to see a damn preview of 6-on-6 with the same people for a match at Forbidden Door that I don't care about, because it's not forbidden, and your world champion is in a match with 11 other guys all crowded in a steel cage in one ring. Like, I just don't. The we got to squeeze everybody in situation has never been more evident than this. But yeah, I hopefully, I don't know, like, maybe Zack Sabre Jr. will get a microphone tonight. Maybe, I don't know.
Well, I mean, don't give one to Osprey so he can talk about banging his wife in the middle of the ring. Okay,
That was the only entertaining part. I mean, yeah, it was.
There was a little bit of a shocker, don't you think?
But
that was a little bit of a shocker. I was like, "What?"
Yeah, I think that got an audible reaction from a lot of people watching it.
Yeah, yeah, I would say that was like, "Oh my." I mean, I'm guessing that would happen, but thanks for confirming that.
In fairness, like that, like so they just got married last weekend. Congratulations to Will and Alex. Like, the Owen Hart Cup should have been over by now. Like, last year they wrapped it up at Double or Nothing.
Yeah.
This year, to me, it's more important because we've got to get to the point where Will Ospreay wins the Owen, which still hasn't happened yet, even though everybody's been assuming that he would win the Owen this year for like 2 years at this point, before he was ever even announced for the tournament, before the tournament was even announced. We just knew it was going to happen. Like, everybody knew that, like, this would be the year that Ospreay would challenge at Wembley for the title. And we're almost there. But in terms of selling tickets and stuff, we're not that far away at this point. I mean, he's going to win the Owen with 2 months before the pay-per-view, which is a decent amount of time. But considering they put tickets on sale at, I don't know, the beginning of the year or earlier, it would have been okay if they had wrapped this up a month ago and we knew, like, Ospreay's going to be the challenger in August, as opposed to right now where it's not even, like, really alluded to, because, like, oh, we got to make it seem like Mark Briscoe's a contender, and then we're going to have to make it seem like Kenny Omega's a contender and all this. Like, there's a lot that's still happening, but before we get there, but, like, Ospreay should be on the marquee at the ticket outlets in London, if those existed.
It's interesting.
And then if that had happened, then he could take a little honeymoon break right now.
There you go. Yeah. Why not? I mean, well, he didn't get one. We know that because he was on TV this week. So yeah, it's interesting is, do you think Martha's going to be there at Forbidden Door? Like she's been, I think, every time there's been a winner.
I would think so.
Bring her
Um,
Kentucky Derby hats.
Yeah, that's
Hmm?
right. She had a Kentucky Derby hat thing going on last year.
Maybe this year she'll show up in a Carlos hat. I don't know. Stranger things have happened. So, uh, yeah, I don't know. It's I would assume that she's still gonna pop up at that every year. Obviously, it's not the same as like when they first launched it and they had the finals in Calgary and all that
Yeah,
stuff. But
yeah,
um, I don't know.
it might be. So interesting, seeing how we're getting to where we're going. So the thing is Ben, who Osprey, wins. And Osprey, listen, give him a lot of credit. He had surgery in the past year, or he probably would have already have won the championship, I think, if not for having the back issues, the neck issues he had. So,
I think the plan was for him to win at All in 2026 for the last 2 years.
okay, so
I think this is the most planned out thing that has happened in wrestling booking in any company in a very long time. But
since the
yeah, I mean,
bloodline,
I think if anything, it was more of a like, is he going to actually recover enough for this to happen? Is this going to go well? How long is he going to be out? All that kind of stuff. But
yeah.
obviously, that all worked out.
So I'm guessing he probably knew well in advance he had to have the surgery, and so they just worked it into the storyline and everything. But so that being said, who will he be taking on at All In? I mean, MJF having some issues right now. It's a
I'll
good
tell you who I
question.
don't think it's going to be
MJF.
Mark Briscoe.
Oh. Yeah, I don't think so either. I agree. I agree.
I my my guess is it's Kenny Omega, but it certainly could be MJF.
So that's got to happen in the next month and a half. Then, probably will be a good lead at Forbidden Door to what's going to happen with MJF next. So
Got AEW Redemption at the Bell Center in Montreal in a month and a week. So wouldn't be surprised to see Kenny Omega have a little 1 month title reign leading into. But again, at that point, it's got to be heel Kenny. In my mind, it has to be heel. So could be an interesting couple of months between now and All In. So
very cool. Very cool. So I want to mention one other thing I want to talk about, which is WWE's Night of Champions, which is next Saturday. With an 11 o'clock pre-start. It's going to be in the Middle East. We're going to get the King of the Ring finals for both the men's and the women's. And the men's King of the Ring final is Jey Uso and Obafemi, and the women's is Io Sky and Liv Morgan. We saw last night Liv Morgan getting a win over Charlotte Flair. We saw Jey Uso getting a win over Javon Evans last night to both go to the finals. Beyond that, the card, we'll talk about the card next week, but I just wanted to throw that out there that we do get the finals, and we also get a three-way between Cody Rhodes, Sami Zayn, and Gunther for the tie for the undisputed WWE title. And that's because Sami Zayn has inserted himself into this, which makes it much more fun than just having Gunther lose every week, because he basically lost because of a crooked Sami Zayn last night. They started SmackDown without commercial breaks until the match was over, and it was Cody Rhodes versus Gunther, and it was Cody Rhodes win on a quick pin count, a 1-2-3 by Sami Zayn that went like machine gun style, which made them have to restart it, I think, and then it ended up becoming they threw it out because Sami Zayn interfered and attacked Gunther, because Gunther attacked Sami Zayn when he was the special guest referee and took him out. And they, nevertheless, that's one interesting thing WWE is doing right now. I'll give them credit on that. I enjoy this going on right now, but that's going on next week, and they're going to be in London next week as well. And next week's SmackDown starts at 2 PM. And which is very interesting. I find I'm tired of these early ones though, because I get out of work, I come home, and it's the last 15 minutes of the show. So it's like you don't have to go back and watch the whole thing, and then you can't do it immediately for some strange reason on Netflix. It's got to be up for a while before you're allowed to be able to rewind or to watch it back. So it's just those limitations and stuff. But I want to get to the news now because we've been going quite a bit, and I should call this the TNA retrospective show because we definitely spent quite a bit of time talking about TNA today. So, and I apologize for anything I gave away. I didn't mean to on the show so far. But tonight, if you're going to watch Collision, you've got Athena versus Maya World for the Owen Hart Cup tournament semifinal match. We also got Mina Shirakawa versus Chris Statlander in Survival of the Fittest qualifier. Mystico versus Dante Martin. Zack Sabre Jr. versus Adam Priest. Matt Jackson, Nick Jackson, and Jack Perry versus Jay Lethal, Blake Christian, and Lee Johnson. Chris Jericho challenges Tommaso Ciampa to a face-to-face. Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin will be in action, and Pac will be in action. And of course, the winner of the Athena and Maya World will face Mercedes Moné in the finals of the AEW Forbidden Door pay-per-view for the Owen Cup. And just ignore that I said anything about that earlier. If you're going to watch Raw this week, you're going to get, and this is good. I mentioned it a minute ago. It's going to be in the O2 Arena. It starts at 2 p.m. We're going to have the Vision put their WWE Tag Champions versus the Street Profits. Put them up, and we have the women's tag team champions Bria Belly and Paige taking on Bailey and Lyra Valkyria. So that's going on. If you're watching, I don't have any other previews or anything going on. I'm sure TNA this week will be setting up the Slammiversary pay-per-view, which will be Sunday. And I could have gone through a little bit of that card, but I already told you it's Nick Nemeth versus Mike Santana for the championship. Beyond that, so WWE, they got the Night of Champions next week, and they had to change their poster because apparently, and I mentioned it last week, Rhea Ripley got injured, and she was on the poster, and she's currently being evaluated for a knee injury. I guess it's pretty serious, enough that they took her off the poster. Obviously, she's not going, and she's a women's champ right now on Raw. So that was, that's a shame because we like Rhea Ripley a lot, but she's had some injuries in the last couple of years that have kept her out a bit. And if it's a knee injury, that's not good. And I don't know if you guys seen her recently, but she looks like I hate to say that she could use a sandwich, but she could use a sandwich. She's very thin. It's like, I don't know if it's just her or that.
I wouldn't say that.
Yeah. But she's just looking very thin, it's like, even muscular wise too. So I don't know if she's been having issues, working out and stuff, but it's a shame because I really do like Rhea Ripley a lot. And it's like, so interesting. If you watched Raw this past week, Jacob Fatu is officially back with quote unquote the bloodline rather reluctantly, but when they were exiting the ring, on Monday Night Raw, there's an actor, Eric Andre, who was standing. He was down ringside, and he was like slapping hands with all of them. And then, for some strange reason, Jacob Fatu was the last one to leave the ring, and he took Eric Andre and took him over the barrier, and then brought him up in the ring, and did a flying, what is it, body press or body on him, and Roman Reigns came back to the ring and looked a little disappointed, but then he's like, do it again. And so Eric Andre got, and then Jacob Fatu jumped on him for a second time to show that he was, back with the bloodline, back in good graces with Roman Reigns and everything. They're kind of reliving something that was done, 3 years ago, the bloodline and everything. Cause you got the Usos as well being a part of it. But do you guys know who Eric Andre is? You ever seen like his Adult Swim show where his desk gets wrecked every show? Maybe not.
I know his name and I can picture what his face looks like, but that's really the extent. I don't really know much about him.
Well, apparently he's in a new movie with John Cena that's coming out this week, and that would be why maybe he was getting getting destroyed in the ring by the bloodline. But who knows? Maybe it'll bring John Cena back. I don't know. But I was trying to figure out the real reason why they beat up. I mean, because Eric Andre is really not the name, he's not like a household name, the big actor or anything. He just had a 15-minute show on Adult Swim where he would he'd bring on interviews and just talk about stupid things, and not even really talk about the interview. But or the talk about what the person was coming on to talk about. But it was just a bizarre show. I did watch it though, because I'd wake up in the middle of the night and it would be on my TV. So, but yeah, he got destroyed by the Uso by Jacob Fatu last week, and then I find out that he has a movie coming out, so it makes only sense, I guess. Some other news: longtime pro wrestler Pete Doherty died on Tuesday. You might remember Pete Doherty as the Duke of Dorchester. Back in the days of WWE, when you needed a jobber, you had a handful of people that would lose every week. He was one of them. He'd come out and he'd put over the stars. And it brings me back to a time when we had Barry Hardy in the studio, and he felt the guys that back in the 80s put the stars over should be in the WWE Hall of Fame. Do you remember him talking about that? Anyone ever remember it when he was in the studio?
I sure remember that. Yep.
Yeah. I remember we talked about it. It's like, and he had a point. Well, this is one of the guys, Pete Doherty, who was they call what, jobber to the stars. Is that what Al Snow used to have on his shirt? Jobber to the stars. He was that guy. There was a handful of guys that would do that every week and make guys look great. And Pete Doherty was one of them. He was part of the Cauliflower Alley Club. I mean, he was very invested in, past wrestlers and, this organization and everything. And you guys probably don't remember who Pete Doherty was at all. I'm sure you probably could see some old videos of him, but it's a shame because he was he was a dude, and he's a guy I would put in the Hall of Fame if we were going to put people in the Hall of Fame for getting stars over, because that's how the old shows used to be when I was a kid. You never had marquee matchups on Wrestling Superstars on Sunday night. You always had Sergeant Slaughter and a jobber, and you had these other guys and jobbers, and it's like, and they would wrestle for Johnny Rods. He would have one good round, one good fight in the match, and then he would lose. Jose Estrada. There was a bunch of the guys that were and so that's what made me think when I saw that he passed. It's like, oh yeah, I remember when Barry Hardy was asking us, thinking about something like that, because Barry Hardy was a guy who was a jobber to the stars, and he'll admit it too. And it's like, he did get a little bit of a run at one time, but that's where he was most of his career in the WWE. And he wasn't at half the time this guy Pete Doherty was. He was there a very long time. So I just wanted to bring him up because he did die this past week, and he's an honorable member of the Cauliflower Alley Club, and they're the ones who actually brought it up. So I wanted to bring that, and I'm sure maybe some people in the chat room might remember him too, because it was the 80s, when wrestling started to pick up that big swing with Hulk Hogan and everything. He was one of those guys there. So I did mention Danhausen earlier this week was not at the New York Knicks celebration for winning the championship. A lot of people kind of expected him to be there because of all the press he got, for uncursing the Knicks and everything, but he was not. And I guess, and it's funny is even some of these, I think Jimmy Fallon asked some of the Knicks who were on his show about Danhausen, and they gave him credit on the Tonight Show. So I think it was Brunson, but Brunson is a guy who also shows up at WWE shows all the time too. Derek Brunson, I remember him.
Jalen Brunson.
Or Jalen Brunson. Yeah, Derek Brunson. I think it was his dad, actually.
Mark Brunson's his dad. Temple great Mark Brunson.
There you go.
Who made the right decision as to where to play college basketball, unlike his son, who went to the one that starts with a V. And I don't need to mention.
Oh, that's right. I forgot he was a three-time national champion, right? Or two-time. No. With Illinois. Sorry, I didn't say it. With that team, he won two at least. I know that because there was three guys that played with the Knicks who all won with that team. Yes, they brought that up during the. Yeah, sorry. I know, guys. Rob's a Temple graduate. Okay, so you can't hold it against him. He likes his pudding pops. Okay, so.
Oh no.
I'm kidding. Sorry. So nevertheless, yeah. Jalen Brunson did bring it up on the Tonight Show, which I thought that was very interesting this past week. And they even showed that last night, of course, on SmackDown, because of course they're going to show that when they're talking about one of their guys. But he was not He was not there at all, which everyone was really kind of surprised at. And I thought this is another surprising thing. The guy who invented the King of the Ring concept passed away this past week. His name was Eddie uh, Andelman, and he was a disc jockey, I guess, who did some stuff with WWE, and he's the one who came up with the concept of King of the Ring. Which is interesting when you hear. You always think Vince McMahon's like the big genius behind all these big, multi-men matches and stuff. And it was actually someone else who had given him the idea. So this guy passed away this past week, and so the creator of the King of the Ring, which we're going through the finals. Maybe they'll give him some credit next week when they have the finals, or show him like in the little shadow box at the beginning of the show or something. But yeah, the man who created the idea that was borrowed by Vince McMahon had passed away. And I don't know if you guys saw this or not. I saw this that AEW is now kind of uh, they have announced a partnership with the Last Match Pro Wrestling Rock Experience, something that Rob and myself have both acted in. The which is true, right? I mean, it's two or three of us. Two of the three of us have actually been on stage with those guys and was a part of the show. And then now AEW is doing something in England, with London, with them. I guess they're co-sponsoring a revival of the show, and that I'm glad that it survived. It was it was kind of fun, and it was like. I thought about it after doing the show. It was very William Shakespeare-ish. It was like that kind of theme that William Shakespeare would write about in redemption and everything, and last chances, and it's really is a great show, and it's cool. And it's cool that AEW is on board with them to help produce this going on in a much bigger theater over in London. So, did you see that, Rob?
Yeah, I don't know if it's I couldn't tell if it was like a one show thing or something because it looks like it's around All In, which makes sense. But yeah, no, cool they're doing it. So
Yeah, I thought it just disappeared. I know they did one in Vegas earlier this around WrestleMania time. So but AEW has jumped on board with them to help promote, produce it. So I think that's pretty cool. It's a neat experience if you didn't see it, and
interested to see who pops up on the cast for that. So if somebody from AEW will end up doing that, I mean, there's a lot of possibilities there of people they could plug in. So
yeah, without a doubt. So we'll see as we get closer to All In, but. You did mention it, and I'll mention it as well. Will Ospreay and Alex Windsor married this past week, so congratulations to them. And one last thing, and I'm sure you guys will be thrilled about this, but we haven't seen certain Punk in WWE since WrestleMania, but he's showing up he's coming up June 26th, which I think is Friday. No, yeah. No, Thursday. I can't remember now. Yeah, Friday.
it's Friday.
Yeah, Friday he's going to be doing commentary on Cage Fury Fighting Championships. So he still has that job that he was doing before doing play-by-play, and maybe he'll like leak out what he's been doing. People are suspecting he'll be back in WWE very soon, though. But he did get a little bit of a break after like a 2 year straight run with them, leading up to last year's WrestleMania. But I think that's all I've got on the news. Is there anything I'm missing? You got ESW coming up, right? That's how far away? Is that a couple weeks away?
No, there's a lot coming up this summer, but the ESW is July 31st at the outdoor rink at Riverworks with the Butcher, the Blade, Paul London, Mance Warner, and more, in the Everything to Gain Rumble. So that's a big show. Really looking forward to that. We've got 3 2CW shows announced for August, September, and November.
Oh, 3 of them. I saw the certain Olympic athletes going to be at one of them.
There will be some Intensity, Integrity, and Intelligence in Watertown on Saturday, August 15th. Which, I mean, I was thinking about the other day, like he might be in my top like 3 in terms of like former WWE champions of all time, at least. So really looking forward to Kurt Angle being there in Watertown. Then we got a show in Binghamton September 26th and Syracuse on November 14th, which will probably be a big wrestling weekend. It's the three like biggest, most historic for 2CW venues over the years, including that show in Syracuse will be at the Pastime, which will be the first show there since the one you guys were at.
Yeah, DC. Remember that? Crowded. Having a guy jump off the basketball hoop next to us. Yeah.
AR Fox.
And the Fox. Yeah.
Yeah. So looking forward to that. That's been a large portion of my free time in some things getting ready for those. Yeah, it's going to be a big second half or so of the year in terms of indie wrestling from Buffalo to Watertown, Syracuse, Binghamton, whatever you want to call that little column of New York. So lots of GCW coming up. They're doing like 7 or I think it's 7 or 8 at least weekends in a row.
Wow.
Without any off. Last night they were in Cincinnati. And I still have to, the main event I still need to go back and watch probably once we finish here, which was Joey Janela and Hook making his GCW debut. They're in Indianapolis tonight. Don't know about a Rochester date yet. Like I said, the schedule was pretty packed these next few weeks, but hopefully that'll be coming soon. So
very cool. Very cool. Well, DC, I don't want to keep you from the parade. So
Yeah, I'm too late for that. They were lining up last night.
Oh man.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I was gonna say
kudos to the governor though for making all these state parking garages free this weekend.
Very cool. We've got this thing going on in Rochester, the Jazz Fest. I think I'm going to partake in a free Robert Cray show tonight downtown, as long as the weather cooperates around here. It's been like night and day. Either going to get downpour, rain, and wind, or it's going to be beautiful and sunny. And it's
or 12 hours without power.
Yeah, there was
especially
wind
right after you drop a couple $100 on a bunch of raw meat and stuff. And not my favorite day. Cool. But I will when the power came back on Thursday night at midnight, that felt like Christmas. I was so happy. Like I heard a little flicker and stuff, and then like the one light came on first. I was like, yes, like because at that point I had no idea how much longer it's going to take. If it had already been like 12 hours, it's just like, is this going to be days and days or what's going on?
It's a good thing we don't got 90s going on at least, because it's been pretty chill here. It's been like they said we're in the high 80s in the next 2 weeks. 80 will be the highest number we see, which is nice and comfortable outside. So, but we've had these windstorms that have been taking trees down left and right, and thunder and lightning. And I was out. I was working yesterday. Everyone else had off, but I had to work because it's a floating holiday for me. And it was hailing when I walked out of the building I was coming out of. There was chunks of ice all over the place. It was, so, I don't know.
One little flicker of the power like yesterday afternoon during that thunderstorm, whatever. I was just like, not again. Don't. But luckily the power stayed. So.
Well, I'm going to say I wish everybody out there a great week. We've got a busy weekend next weekend. With all the shows going on, which we will preview again. And I'm sorry if I spoiled anything for you tonight if you're watching Collision. So, but on that note, we're going to say see ya and thank you so much for hanging out with us. You can find all our old shows on thepainclinic.net as well as on iTunes. I still get them up every week. And if you go to our Facebook page, you'll see a link to the video, and the video I'll repost it later after I tighten it up a bit, as they say, because Facebook won't keep these videos on their sites more than like 30 days. And so I just put them on my YouTube channel and post them up there so you can see, the last 44 weeks of videos of us or something like that. But I want to thank you guys. Thank you for the time this week. I love talking wrestling with you guys. It's like one of those things I look forward to every week, and I look forward to everybody in the chat room as well, including Super Beast. Don't forget prowrestlingtees.com/beast buys. On that note, we're going to get out of here. We'll see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel.